This video is the last in a series of exam techniques for BTEC Business Unit 3. As you've read in the title of the video, this video will focus on the 12 marker. You'll find two 12 markers in your Unit 3 exam, which equates to 30% of your paper. So it's imperative that you know how to master these type of questions and that you practice them beforehand. This video will show you an example of a 12 marker, but we'll show you more than one, and an exemplar answer. And at the very end of the video, there will be a tip. Now, I just want you to be aware that the 12 markers can appear in more than one type of format. You could get, for example, a question where you're asked to evaluate options and you're given various options such as home insurance and car insurance and different types of financial products, maybe like savings accounts, for example, and you need to evaluate the options and choose the most suitable one. You might also be given and evaluate whether a particular company should use venture capitalists to expand, or evaluate whether crowdfunding or a loan is the best option. So you'll get that type of question that doesn't have options as well. Regardless, you need to evaluate them. You'll find a 12 marker in section A, the personal finance section, and that's the one that tends to require you to evaluate financial products. And you also find a 12 marker in the business finance section as well, section B. Now here's an example of a 12 marker from section A, the personal finance section. And as you can see, there's a range of financial products, and you would need to choose the most suitable one for Malik. So you'd obviously have to read the case study, which is in the top left, and read the information within the product table about the features of these different financial products. Now let me just give you a tip when you're approaching this type of question. You could save yourself time by discounting options quickly at the start with a rationale. So at the beginning, where you know that there's particular financial products that aren't suitable for the individual, then you can discount them, disregard them with a rationale. You explain why you've disregarded these, why these aren't suitable for Malik or whoever else is in the case study. It's important to include the rationale though. So if you don't include a rationale, you just ignore them, then it's as if you've overlooked these financial products and you'll be penalized for that. Then you should just focus on two products before coming up with a justified conclusion. And when I say focus, obviously it's an evaluate question, so you'd need to look at the pros and cons of them. And obviously you've got to include your figures. Make sure that you're also applying your answer to the scenario and use the numbers within the product table and or within the case study to support your argument. Here is another type of evaluate question. So again, you've got a case study, a scenario, which you obviously need to make sure you make reference to within your answer. And then you're asked to evaluate whether Dara should use crowdfunding to finance the purchase of the van. So it's very important that you do evaluate, you look at the pros and the cons, and then you have a conclusion at the end. Let's look at what else an evaluate question requires. For your 12 marker, you are required to show knowledge and understanding. So you need to demonstrate accurate and thorough knowledge and understanding of relevant information. There should be minor gaps or omissions. You need to show application, use a case study, and apply your answers to it. It's very important. Do not ignore the case study. And this should lead to a balanced evaluation. When you are evaluating, you need to display a well-developed and coherent evaluation which shows a thorough grasp of competing arguments. So this is where you would include the pros and the cons, the advantages and disadvantages of perhaps the different features, the different options, or the actual situation that has been presented to you. So it's very important that your answer is not one-sided. You have to look at both sides, and then at the end you will include a conclusion, which we will talk about shortly. You need to also include and show logical reasoning. This should be evidenced throughout. You might use terms such as because and leads to help you develop a chain of logical reasoning. They're looking to see that you've used good specialist language consistently within your answer and fluently. And finally, a justified conclusion is required. So not just any old conclusion, a justified conclusion. So within the first sentence, you should choose what option you've chosen, what side, because obviously you've evaluated within the essay and now you've come to the end, you need to choose a side. So you need to state the side within your first sentence and then also justify it, back it up, justify that point. And if it's an options type question where you've looked at two options, let's say, then you could also state why you haven't chosen the other option within your conclusion. But we'll look at an example shortly. These videos may also be of importance to you. I will put the link to them in the description box below. Just a reminder to like, share and subscribe as I do post regularly. Here's our 12 marker. Mike is hoping to expand Palindrome quickly. Its current machinery is becoming outdated and the business needs to update its technology to remain competitive. The cost of a new machine is £40,000 and Mike is wondering how to fund this purchase. He has two options to choose from. Option 1, lease a new machine. Leasing a machine will cost £1,000 per month. This cost includes any repair costs. The lease is for a minimum of 2 years. It can be cancelled after this point if 2 months' notice is given. An extra £1,500 fee must be paid for ending the lease early. The leasing company will deliver and install the machine. Option 2, purchase a new machine using a loan with a variable rate of interest over 5 years. The loan repayment will be initially £800 per month. The loan will be secured against the business premises. The delivery and installation of the machine will cost an extra £1,200. Mike will also have to pay for any repairs once the machine's 3-year guarantee ends. Evaluate whether Mike should lease option 1 or use a loan, option 2, to obtain the machine. 12 marks. Now this question comes from the business finance section. You can pause the video now if you'd like and give the question a go. Choosing option 1 would mean that Mike would be paying a fixed amount of £1,000 per month for the cost of the lease. This is beneficial because it is a fixed amount, which means it will not change each month. This would allow a small business with cash flow issues to budget accordingly. Another advantage of option 1 is that the cost of the lease includes any repair costs should the machine break down. This means that productivity at Palindrome would not be affected for a prolonged period if the machine was not working. This is in contrast to option 2, where Mike would have to pay for any repairs after 3 years. However, if Mike leases the machine, it means that he does not own the machine, and this will not increase the value of the business. On to our second paragraph. Choosing option 2 and purchasing a new machine means that Mike would pay £800 per month initially on a variable rate. This is £200 cheaper per month than if he were to go with option 1 and lease the machine. This works out to be £12,000 cheaper than option 1 if this were calculated over 5 years. This would lead to Mike being able to reinvest this back into the business. In addition, as the repayment is on a variable rate, this does mean if interest rates were to fall, then Mike could potentially pay less than £800 per month. On the other hand, if Mike chooses this option, he would have to pay an additional £1,200 for delivery and installation of the machine. And Palindrome might not have the funds to pay for this at the time it is needed. Overall, option 2 is the most suitable choice for Mike. This is because the machine will be owned by Mike and will show as an item on the statement of financial position, which will in turn increase the value of the business. This option means that Mike will be able to keep the machine for as long as he wants. However, with option 1, Mike would need to return the machine after 2 years. The success of option 2 depends on the variable rate of interest he will pay over the 5 years, as interest rates have been rising recently, and he may end up paying more than £800 initially. In the long term, the cost will be £10,800, excluding repair costs, cheaper than a lease, which leads to lower costs overall for Mike. So that was our 12 marker and our justified conclusion. You might want to consider using terms such as "it depends on" within your conclusion. It's not compulsory, but it's just something that you might want to consider. You could get some evaluation marks from there as well. On to our tip. Top tip: use numbers to back up your arguments. If there are figures within the options of financial products or figures in the case study, use it where relevant. You saw that within the 12-marker example. Use the figures to back up your arguments. And also there's times that you can actually undertake a calculation. So you could do that too. Good luck. The next 2 videos that will show on your screen are what YouTube thinks you should watch next. Thanks for watching.